Hi, I'm Skylar, and today we're going to talk about wax potting. So, wax potting is a process where the pickups are dipped in wax, usually a mixture of paraffin and beeswax. And what that does is it soaks the whole coil and all the parts and removes all the air, pockets of air, and the space between the parts and replaces it with wax. So it holds everything together real tight. And it gets rid of microphonics, which I'll show you in a bit. But that's basically something when you're playing really loud or with a lot of overdrive, you get this screeching sound, and it's really not desired when you're on stage or when you're trying to practice. So most modern pickups are wax potted, or they're potted in lacquer or epoxy or some other substance like that. I'd say most of them are wax potted. Now, the vintage pickups, most vintage pickups don't have any wax, like old PAF humbuckers or early Fender pickups are not wax potted. Some of the Fender stuff from the 70s and 80s was lacquer potted, but for the most part they weren't wax potted, and you can get away with that for a certain amount of time. Usually when things get older, the parts begin to loosen up and the coil windings loosen up a bit. And you'll definitely get some microphonics in there after a certain amount of time. Now, there is some debate over whether the wax affects the tone, and some people say that a non-wax potted pickup sounds more open and you have more highs and clarity. So that's what we're going to test today. I've got a non-wax potted pickup in here, and then I've got two more identical pickups. One that is potted in lacquer and one that is potted in beeswax and paraffin. This is what I use for lacquer potting pickups. All the coils, or all the bobbins, are lacquer potted. I do that to the Fender style pickups to insulate the coils from the pull pieces. So this one's already been wound. I got an L on the bottom here. That way I know it's lacquer potted. And I'll just go ahead and dip that in here. Let the excess drain off. And then I'll just hang that up for about 24 hours until it's dry. And then it's ready to go. So that'll just coat the outside of the coil. It doesn't really get to the inside of the coil. So it's not as complete a potting process as wax potting. So this is my wax potting setup. This is probably a $20 deep fryer, and it's set at 150 degrees here, and just got a thermometer. It's telling me it's 150 degrees. And there's about a pound of paraffin wax in there, and then a quarter pound of beeswax, because you want the mixture to be 1:4. And so this is the pickup that I will be wax potting. It's got a W on the bottom, so I know which one it is. And this will just go in here and soak for about 30 minutes. That way the wax is fully impregnated in the coil. It goes to the middle of the coil, and the air bubbles stop coming out. And then I'll take it out, wipe it off, and let it dry off. Now, all three pickups are wound with the same number of winds, the same type of wire. They're based on my Nixon 1969 Stratocaster pickups. They use plain enamel wire and Alnico 5 magnets. All the magnets are the same Gauss, so they've been degaussed to the same levels, about 35 Gauss. And so they should be all exactly the same. And I've got this pickup tester guitar that I designed. And so we're gonna switch out the pickups real quick in between takes, and I'll play the exact same thing. And I'm also gonna test for microphonics. So the first one we'll test is the one with no wax potting. Now these are all adjusted about 4/64 from the string. So when I depress the string at the last fret, I measure from the top of the pole to the bottom of the string, and that's 4/64. Just to make sure that we're getting a really accurate sound out of all three pickups. So the first test is for microphonics. I've got the guitar plugged into a tube screamer and a OCD, a full tone OCD. And so that'll give me plenty of gain to see if I get any microphonics out of this. So you can see that is a bit microphonic, and there's nothing really you can do about that. It's just under high gain. You can even hear if you talk into it a little bit. So yeah, there's a lot of gain going through that, which is not unusual for a stage setting. This is the one with beeswax and paraffin. No microphonics. Alright, this is the one with lacquer potting. So that also works pretty good against microphonics. So after listening back to all three recordings with headphones and through the monitor speakers, I could definitely tell that the non-wax potted pickup had a little bit more highs and was a little bit more open. And it's just real subtle. And I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up. You know, the wax and the lacquer got rid of microphonics completely. Like there was no question it was gone after potting both of those pickups. And you know, the non-wax potted pickup, there was a lot of noise, especially when I got close to the amp. Even at this low volume, it was screeching all over the place. So it's kind of a toss-up. Do you want those like little bit of highs and a little bit of clarity, or do you want to have something that's more reliable? So I would still, you know, opt for wax potting. You know, I'm still going to keep doing it for all my pickups. For something that you're just going to be playing at low volume, or if you want something that's really accurate to a vintage pickup, then, you know, maybe forego the wax potting. But yeah, this was a really interesting experiment. I wasn't really sure if the wax potting would affect the tone at all, but to my ears, and you know, I've been playing music for the last 20 years, so my ears, I definitely have some tinnitus in there. To my ears, it sounded like there was a little bit more highs, and if you have better ears than me, then you might be able to tell the difference better than I can. But that was just my take on it. So yeah, this was a fun experiment, and thank you for watching.